All right, here we go. And welcome back, guys, to another installment here on the Lazy Genius Tarot and Bazaar. My name is Alex. If you're new here, thank you for making this your first stop on the journey. I do definitely appreciate you stopping in to spend some time with me. Today, what we're going to do is we're actually going to do a side-by-side comparison. On the left here, we have the 1909 Art Restoration deck available on Drive-Thru Cards, which was restored by C in London. He also did a restoration of a Grand Atea deck that I have on the way, so I'm excited to get that one as well. And then on the right here, we have the Pamela Coleman Smith Centennial deck. I have the box set here. It unfortunately didn't come with a tuck box. The cards were just in this box here. I actually don't use any of the books or anything that came with this kit. Everything is still in there brand new as it came when I got it. I really only bought it for the deck because at the time it was the only way that I could get the bordered version online anywhere, and I really wanted the bordered one, not the borderless. um, so here are the two decks. I am going to do a side-by-side comparison of the two, and kind of see how closely they match, what kind of differences we see. Um, I'm pretty sure the Centennial edition of the uh, US Games RWS deck is based on the 1909 Roses and Lilies. We're going to see just how close they are. And here with the Fool, we see that I've really been looking at this even before I started recording the video, at least with this Fool card here. And I've really been looking at the details in the line work and the printing colors and so forth. And it's like the same patterns are repeated with the line work. So you do see that old printing style that was used for the 1909 with the layered cross hatching to get the mixed tones for skins and reds and stuff, like we will more than likely see on the table for the Magician here in just a second. Um, all of the detail is there in this deck that we see in this deck. Um, and all of the detail is there. Really, what it looks like in this deck, at least, is that they've taken the saturation of the colors from the original deck itself and upped the saturation to make the colors a little bit deeper. Like this one doesn't look like it's taken too much of a mustard turn. It still very much so has a like a bright yellow feel to it. It's just that sort of vintagey filter that they've put over the top of it for the, sort of aging effect there. But yeah, it really just looks like they took this, up the saturation, and made this card here. Here are the backs. Of course, this is the Restoration deck, so it does have the Roses and Lilies, and this is the Centennial here. Then we have the Magician card, and here in the Magician card, if we notice it, again, it looks like they just took the saturation and upped the saturation to get the image for this card. And one of the reasons why I say I think it's based on this deck is the printing errors are the same. So if you see here, there's this white spot on the cheek of the Magician on both of these cards here. And granted, the colors look a little touched up here on the Magician card, like they're not spilling over the line of the arm here as much as they are over here. So you can see that there are some touch-ups. The colors were filled in a little bit more properly going down the row here behind the flowers. So there's a little bit of touch-ups, but it looks like for the most part they kept the same printing errors like we see there on the cheek. And then it looks like after they upped the saturation a little bit, they also took some of the red out of the face and the skin there on some of the cards where it would have been real prevalent, I guess. But again, as we go through the cards, it looks like with the Centennial, we have a pretty spot on representation of the 1909 deck here, just with a higher saturation on the color and a little bit sharper line work due to possibly just the increased saturation, or touch-ups in like digital editing softwares. But it is really spot on. If they did do any touch-ups, they really didn't do very many as far as like the differences are concerned between the two decks there. And here we have the Emperor. Hold on, I wonder if I can zoom in with both. Yep, it'll actually let me do it. Cool. I can get a little bit closer view. So you can see a little bit better now how the detail is all pretty much exactly the same. You just have a higher saturation in the Centennial than you do in the Art Restoration deck here. And of course that's to be expected, because with this deck here, of course, they're going to up the color saturation to make it a little bit brighter, whatever the case might be. But for the most part, the detail is pretty much exactly the same. And like I said, it really doesn't look like they mess with the line work at all. It looks like they really just, when the increase of saturation was done to the cards, it also increased the saturation of the line work itself, making the lines brighter, darker, more defined, I guess you would say. But it's still spot on. The details are there all the way around. Everything is present. I really like it. It's pretty good, yo. It's actually a really spot on representation here of the Roses and Lilies deck that we see packaged into the Centennial deck here. They did a pretty good job at this. Yeah, they really did a pretty good job at this. Okay, it looks like they did clean up a printing error here. So on the 1909 Art Restoration, we have the red and the blue dot on the strength card here. And on the Centennial, you can sort of see the red dot on the face, but the blue dot looks like it's been removed. So there is one of those little touch-ups that they've done with the printing errors. Here's the Hermit. And again, I am only going to do the Major Arcana, mainly just because it is RWS, and we've all seen these cards probably a million times before. So, yeah, I am just going to do the majors here. But again, even like the detail in the clouds all seems to still be fully intact. So yeah, I don't really think that they did too much. I think they probably, like I said, just upped the saturation, added the sort of aging effect over the top of that, and then voila, we have the Centennial. But it is a really, really accurate representation, like I said, of the 1909 here as we go through the deck. Yeah, the colors are really spot on, and I like it. It's a really, really close, like I said, a really close rendition there of these cards. I'm like really taking my time as we flip through them too, just to kind of look over the details. And like I said, I'm not really seeing too much here that's like horribly off as far as detail is concerned. Everything seems to be right on point. Like this is, it's really close. Here we have another printing error that was cleaned up with the red spot on the devil's shoulder. The Tower card. And again, like the gradient details in the clouds, they're all present. It's just definitely more visible. Like I said, it looks like they really just took the saturation and upped that and then placed that sort of aging effect over it to get the images for the Centennial. But this is really spot on. Yeah, that's really close there. They did a really good job with that, I suppose, for the Centennial deck being sort of that, you know, large mass market release there. As far as giving the people something that's genuinely as accurate as possible to that 1909 Roses and Lilies deck. They really did a good job of portraying that here with the Centennial. Just, you know, the more we go through the cards. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. And then here we have the World card. Like I said, I am just going to do the major arcana for these comparison videos. I do have quite a few other comparison videos lined up as well. In the 1909 comparison series, I am going to do next the original Rider-Waite Tarot deck, because this was a deck that was actually copyrighted to the estate of A.E. Waite himself, and is supposed to be a scan also. Here, let me zoom back out, of the 1909 Roses and Lilies Tudor deck. So we will be doing the next comparison of the Art Restoration deck for the 1909 Art Restoration. This will be the next comparison for that one. Yeah, so I do have that one lined up, and then I'm also going to be doing a series of comparisons with the study deck, the Make Playing Card study deck as well. So yeah, that is a, you know, sort of a quick walkthrough of the majors between the Centennial deck here, and I'll just go ahead and put the majors back on top. And the 1909 study, the 1909 Art Restoration deck, rather, from Drive-Thru Cards. So, yeah, looks like the Centennial is a really close representation of that 1909 Roses and Lilies Tudor deck. So it looks like they really did give us a pretty good piece of work here with this Centennial deck for a mass market representation of one of the originals there. So, yeah. Again, thank you guys for coming to hang out with me. That's pretty much going to do it for this one. Like I said, keep your eyes open. If you like this comparison, I've got another comparison lined up for the 1909 Art Restoration deck. 2 comparisons, at least, possibly 3 for the Make Playing Cards Study deck as well. And that's kind of gonna start us down this RWS journey. Um, I've got a bunch of yellow boxes on their way in. I'm going to date them. I'm trying to build out a yellow box timeline. We're going to do yellow box comparisons for that as we go. So definitely a lot of different RWS comparison videos that are at our disposal here that we could possibly be making. Just let me know in the comments what you want to see. Is there any specific decks you would like to see compared to the 1909 Art Restoration deck, or any specific decks you would like me to compare that I have in the collection against each other? Just let me know, like I said, in the comments, and I will make sure to get that done. Again, thank you guys for coming to hang out with me today as we walk through a sort of comparison video of the 1909 Art Restoration and the Centennial RWS deck from US Games. Another notable thing, of course, the Art Restoration deck here, because it is a restored scan of an original copy of the 1909 itself and released on not make playing cards, but drive-through cards. There is no copyright on the 1909 study deck. So, just a note to take into account there. It is definitely here on this deck with the Centennial. I do know a couple of people out there have actually, with this deck specifically, have actually taken and sanded the copyright off of the cards on that bottom corner there to sort of take the copyright off of the cards as a whole on that front side there. So I've seen that. Like I said, the first person that I saw do that was Anna over at Astral Lady Tarot, I believe is the name of her channel. It's always a tongue twister for me. Anna at Astral Lady Tarot. There you go. Yeah, she's the first one that I saw do it, but I'm sure that there's probably other people that have done it too. But that is an option for something like that, where there's that copyright if you don't want that around. But other than that, it is a really spot-on representation. I'm sorry, I don't mean to ramble at the end, but I really like talking about this stuff, and YouTube is like the only place where I get to talk about it. I suppose while we're at it, we'll just mention that the card stock on the Centennial Edition is, of course, going to be much thicker. We all know that that's a pretty thick deck, but yeah. Okay, I'll stop rambling now. I apologize. I don't mean to do that to y'all. But I do, like I said, appreciate y'all for coming to kick it and hang out with me for a little while we compare these 2 decks here. Keep your eyes out for more content on the way. Again, thank you guys for coming back. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button and that notification bell. That way you know when I put out a new video. If you like the content, that way you can keep up with what we got going on. And, hopefully I will catch you guys on the next one.